Hi and welcome to this week's episode of Wellness TV. Stress is a normal part of most people's lives, and stress is actually healthy for you if you're getting it in the right dose. But too much stress can cause lots of problems in your health. Stick with me and I'm going to show you the signs that you've got too much stress going on in your life. See you on the inside. Hi, thanks for joining me. I actually want to talk to you about cortisol. Now, cortisol is a stress hormone. It's a long-term stress hormone. Cortisol has a lot of negative impacts on our body as well as positive ones. It is protective. It's designed to protect us and keep us alive. But what cortisol does is it stores fat around the waist. It lowers our immune system. It lowers our digestive system. Changes the blood sugar regulation and the release of sugar into the bloodstream and the way the pancreas works. So it has lots of negative effects on our body. As I said, it also has positive effects because it's designed to keep us alive. Long-term cortisol production, though, is very detrimental to your health, and it can have some serious side effects on the way that you feel and the way that your body functions. So what I'm going to go through today is some of the signs that your cortisol levels are just a little bit too high. Number one, you're having trouble sleeping. Ideally, what should happen when your cortisol levels are regulated is the cortisol level drops at night around about 6 p.m. and then stays low and doesn't rise again until about 6 a.m. in the morning. And opposite to that is the melatonin levels come up at 6 p.m. and go down at 6 a.m. So cortisol and melatonin should be working opposite to each other. Melatonin is your sleep hormone. So if your cortisol levels are out of whack, what will happen sometimes is you'll get a drop in energy and then all of a sudden you'll get a lift in energy. And anyone who gets this second wind around about 9 p.m. is a sign that your cortisol levels are not regulated. Then you have trouble getting to sleep. And then when you finally get to sleep, you're finding that you're waking up at about 4 o'clock in the morning because your cortisol levels have started to skyrocket again. Basically, everything's out of whack. Your cortisol levels are going up when they're supposed to be down. They're going down when they're supposed to be up. That's a sign that cortisol, and there's too much long-term stress going on in your body. And further on stress, if you're finding that you're getting enough sleep, so you're sleeping 8 hours a night, but you're waking up really, really tired, it means you're not getting into a deep enough sleep. So you're sleeping quite shallowly. So that's another sign that your cortisol levels are too high because you haven't been able to drop your cortisol levels down low enough for your melatonin to be able to push you down into a deep sleep. So that's another sign. And cortisol has lots of different adverse effects on your body. So if you're finding that you're storing lots of weight around your tummy, regardless of how much exercise you're doing, generally that's a sign that your cortisol levels are too high because that's what cortisol does. It stores fat around the tummy. Also, if you find that you're craving sugary foods all the time and your energy levels are going up and down and your blood sugar levels are quite erratic, that can be a sign that your cortisol levels are not working properly. Now, if you suffer from ongoing backaches and headaches, this can also be a sign of long-term cortisol production. Because cortisol changes your hormones and your pain receptors and you become more sensitive to pain. High cortisol levels will also affect your sex drive. And you probably already know that when you're really, really stressed, your libido goes right down. So you need to start to deal with the stress if you want your libido to come back up again. Also, long-term stress affects the way that your gut functions. So it causes gut dysfunction. I've spoken about leaky gut in a previous video. This is another side effect of long-term cortisol production. Cortisol also will affect your moods. Over the long term, it will cause you to feel depressed or anxious. Now, I'm not going to just leave you with all the negatives of cortisol. Next week, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how you can reduce stress and cortisol in your life. But in the meantime, feel free to share below or ask any further questions about high cortisol levels, whether or not you think you've had them, how you've managed them. Before I come back next week with some other suggestions, you just let me know what you do to manage your stress. Feel free to share this video with your friends and family. Until next week, I'll see you then. Bye.